Let's go. The Eagles are in Tampa to exercise some demons and move to 4-0 atop the NFC. Of course, like most games against the Bucs, it's not going to be easy, although Philly does have a scary advantage ahead of the matchup. In this video, I'll break that down along with all the latest news and injury updates you need to know, plus offer the best picks and plays for the game, as well as what the Birds have planned for Todd Bowles' defense. So let's talk about it, but first, let's run it. What's up, guys? Smash the like button for me because the Eagles have a massive opportunity this weekend. Okay, sure, I could say that every week, but this week we're talking about a chance to move to 4-0 and quite possibly be the last remaining undefeated team in the NFC. Yes, I know San Francisco is technically undefeated and favored over Jacksonville, but I'm not too concerned about the Niners even if they stay undefeated from what I've seen so far this season.
They're not even good.
Look, no matter how you feel, the game of the week is undoubtedly the two undefeated NFC teams in the Birds and the Bucs. Especially when you think how much is riding on this one and what it would mean to the offense if they could put up a complete game right from the opening drive. Which, speaking of the opening drive, I'm going to give away any Eagles jersey of your choice, like we do regularly on this, if you can predict the first touchdown score in the game on Sunday. As always, that's as long as the Eagles win the game, but if that happens, then I'll spin for one person who gets it right at the end of the live stream during the game. So come hang out, celebrate with us, and live through all the crazy ups and downs that is an Eagles Sunday.
Hurts is going to get sacked. He fumbled the football, too, and that is picked up by, I think the Rams got it, and they do. So this game is over. And terrible pocket awareness by Jalen Hurts. Rams have it. Ball at the 10. Yeah. This game's over. Hurts from his own 4. Directing traffic.
Come on, Jalen.
Takes the snap. 4-man pressure. Stops. Throws. End zone. Yes!
Yes!
DeVonta Smith touchdown!
Yes! He's got it! Come on! Hit the like button! Oh my gosh!
Thank God. Okay, here he goes. Snap, hold, kick, up. Block!
What?
It's blocked!
No!
Oh my gosh, they blocked
Oh
it
my
again!
gosh!
Jordan Davis running with it the other way!
Just go
It was
down,
Jordan Davis.
JD! Go
He's gonna
down!
score.
There's
He's
no
gonna
need!
score.
Okay, fine,
Oh
just
my
score!
gosh, they scored!
Oh my gosh!
Not gonna lie, hopefully this week's not that crazy. I mean, it was fun, especially the way the things ended, but really we'd like for it to not be as crazy, so do me a favor, drop a like, let me know your first touchdown score, and then make sure you're subscribed to the channel. After all, I'm doing this all season long, and so far we've had winners who picked Javonte Williams in Week 1, Saquon Barkley in Week 2, and Jalen Hurts in Week 3. Plus, most of you already know this, but I'm also giving away 2 Eagles tickets to any game of your choice after every single Eagles win this season. And yeah, obviously, we're 3 for 3 already this year, so how about making it 4 for 4? At the same time, I get it if you're like, yeah, but Josh, this is the Bucs. They kind of have our number. Which, fine, I understand the PTSD when you consider that Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni's record versus Tampa is 1-4, and Todd Bowles has seemed to have every answer against QB1.
I suppose I'm a bit anxious.
Quite honestly, you are justified to feel that way. Heck, through 5 career starts against a Bowles-led defense, Hurts has completed just 59% of his passes for 6 yards per attempt, along with 5 touchdowns and 5 interceptions.
Bigger perspective, I think. He's got a lot of tools and a lot of things in his system and what he does that is very challenging, and that's what makes them such a great team and a great defense.
Look, I don't want to downplay the Bucs defense because they've been really good for a really long time. Although this whole idea that Jalen and Philly is cursed against Tampa is probably a bit overplayed. I mean, you realize that A.J. Brown's only been healthy 1 game during Sirianni's tenure, right? Yeah, fact check there. That was all the way back in September of 2023, where AO had 9 catches on 13 targets for 131 yards. And not only that, but like Anthony DiBona reminded, that was a game in which Philly won by 2 possessions. Just saying, you add in A.J. Brown, Smitty, and Lane Johnson being healthy, and the Eagles' narrative looks a good bit different against the Bucs.
I think I feel a change in the wind, says I.
Okay, while that might be the case this weekend, we're hoping for that. One thing is for certain, and that is that Todd Bowles is going to blitz Jalen Hurts like crazy. I mean, the numbers are somewhat ridiculous, but Bowles has blitzed Hurts on 47% of his dropbacks in the 5 meetings. However, where Jalen had previously been poor against the blitz, he's really turned a corner the last couple seasons and hopes to have an answer for it against Tampa.
You look inward. You look inward, like everything that I've said the last couple weeks. It's about controlling what you can, being on the same page, and ultimately executing at a high level.
We've played all these teams multiple times. They know us really, really well. And so they're just looking for stuff, right? They're wanting to try new things and seeing what they can do against us. So I think that's a little piece of it. And I think just by nature, if you look around the league, I think pressure's up a little bit in general. I watched a little bit of the game last night and listened to someone on the radio and I drove home. So, like, you can see and just hear what's happening around the league. I think that's a little bit of a trend, and it'll probably continue.
It's really pretty simple. You got to prove to them that you can beat it. And I won't lie, Jalen has never thrown multiple touchdown passes against the Bucs in his career. Plus, he's also only rushed for 27 yards per game, so not exactly expecting Philly to be able to dominate on the ground. To be fair, give him some credit, that is what the Tampa defense does. Seriously, they've finished in the top 5 in rushing defense 5 of the last 6 seasons, and they're on track for that again this year too. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean Saquon Barkley can't do something, because remember, he did run for 84 yards on 10 carries last year against the Bucs. However, it's hard to imagine Bowles abandons plans to shut down the running game first, even with Saquon at a 3.3 yards per carry clip.
We got big guys up front. It's hard. I know they run the ball on everybody. It's tough to run on us. I don't care who comes in that stadium with Vita Vea in the middle. We've been having success against those guys. Hopefully it keeps going. But they're dangerous. Everybody knows it. Super Bowl champs. It's going to be a big challenge for us. But yesterday is yesterday.
We're probably going to continue to get what we're getting until we show that we can handle that. And that's what's probably slowing up Saquon, because they're trying to take him away. And obviously, rightfully so, because he can change the game. He can change the game. So we have to help him out as well with the passing game, getting that going to help the run game. Last year it was kind of like the opposite. So it's like, so now we have to do the opposite. And so it's just kind of taking longer to happen.
So I was looking through this before the game and trying to prepare for this, but it's actually even more impressive than I figured. It's 11 straight games that the Buccaneers have not allowed 100 rushing yards, and that's not for an individual. That is for a team. 11 straight games. So having said that and taking into account what the Eagles have referenced, what's going to happen on Sunday seems pretty obvious.
You have to be the aggressor. When you sit back and, try to, basically play off, what a defense is doing, it's tough. You have to go out there. You have to be the aggressor. You have to make the defense adapt to you.
100%. We've been saying that. Take advantage of mismatches, and don't worry, I'm confident. I do think they're going to do that. I said this last week about A.J. Brown scoring a touchdown, so I think this week you can take advantage of a couple matchups as well. Because right now with Underdog as an official season-long sponsor, you can get $100 in bonus funds when you play $5 and get another 2 free gimme picks. All you got to do is scan the QR code or click the link in the description and sign up with code PHILLYSPECIAL. Like I said, last week we nailed the A.J. Brown pick. Unfortunately, Saquon was not able to do it, but I'm confident in this week's picks. This week I'm rolling with A.J. Brown again, but this time higher on the 61 receiving yards, Jalen Hurts to throw at least 27 times, and Bucky Irving to put up at least 65 rushing yards. I know, tough to pick an opposing player, but you got to go with someone if you're playing the pick'em option. Although for those located in Philly, unfortunately, the pick'em option is not available, but you can play Underdog's weekly best ball drafts. And not gonna lie, I've had more success in those recently stacking lineups than the pick'ems. Either way, Underdog's got all kinds of options for tons of different people, and if you're going to the game, you're going to be in Florida, then the pick'em option is available for you. So do yourself a favor, scan the QR code, use code PHILLYSPECIAL, or click the link in the description, get $100 in bonus funds when you play $5. Take advantage of it. Believe it or not, I was actually pretty close to playing Baker Mayfield on the rushing yards instead of Bucky Irving. I mean, Tampa's ground games actually hasn't done that well, but Baker's got 12 carries for 116 yards through 3 games. Something that certainly has Vic Fangio's attention.
The quarterback is playing really good. He's a scrambler. He scrambled, I think, 11 times this year for close to 120 yards already. So that's always an issue. I've always liked Mayfield. I think he's a good quarterback. Why these teams that had him didn't keep him, I don't know. But GMs make mistakes, just like coaches do.
Fangio does have a pretty good point, because say what you will about Baker, but he's been pretty much lights out this season, especially when you consider that he's dealing with a makeshift offensive line and without a couple offensive weapons. Yet for the record, Tampa has still yet to turn the ball over this year. Whereas on the flip side, Philadelphia is in the top 5 in terms of benefiting off of net turnovers this season. Still, like I say, tons of credit to what Baker's done so far. I mean, heck, the dude's led game-winning drives in the closing seconds each game this season. Like in Week 1, when he went 4 for 5 for 63 yards and a touchdown to beat the Falcons. Week 2, where he completed 8 passes for 78 yards before beating the Texans. And then last week against the Jets with a crucial completion to set up a walk-off field goal against the Jets. Now, on one hand, you're right. 2 of those teams are 0-3. The other squad that they beat was the Falcons, who, just got beat 30-0 by the Panthers. So it's maybe not saying as much, but it's still impressive to lead game-winning drives. I don't care who you're playing. Which is why I say, you still got to give some credit to him. After all, real recognizes real.
think it starts with Reed. He's just able to get those guys lined up. He's veteran player, recognizes patterns, concepts really quickly. He's able to take advantage of that and play aggressive. I mean, you mentioned it, Quinyon, a young player, young corner that's coming into his own, and obviously with Cooper in there, versatile guy, the guy that they can put at corner, safety, nickel, kind of line him up wherever. And so, yeah, they've done a really good job picking up great talent, and then just also how they play together. You can tell they understand their scheme. They're playing on the same wavelength.
Truth be told, the more you look at this thing, though, the Eagles have the clear-cut advantage. That's on paper and on the field. Plus, when it comes to special teams, Chase McLaughlin has had a pretty rough start for Tampa, with misses of 38 and 44 yards, along with a blocked field goal through the first 3 games. And that's not to mention the injuries for the Bucs, since Tampa officially listed wide receiver Chris Godwin, quarterback Baker Mayfield, left tackle Tristin Wirfs, and defensive tackle Logan Hall as questionable. Granted, if you heard the press conferences, it's pretty likely that every player there plays, according to Todd Bowles, with potentially Hall as the exception, but even that's a stretch. Meanwhile, linebacker Lavonte David and Charlie Heck don't have any game status designations and are good to go against the Eagles. On the flip side, it's good news for the Birds as well, with Zack Baun, Jihaad Campbell, Tanner McKee, Lane Johnson, and Will Shipley being full participants for Friday's practice and good to go in Week 4. Honestly, the only surprise was seeing cornerback Adoree Jackson listed as doubtful, as it looks like Kelee Ringo is now in line to start. And look, obviously, there's no sugarcoating it. Ringo played really poorly in the preseason and training camp to lose his job, but this is a massive opportunity for him to step up and own the position. Don't worry, I'll get into that a bit more in a second. But speaking of owning their role, there's been a viral clip going around of Saquon Barkley telegraphing when a run play is coming and when a pass play is coming against Kansas City based on his head movement. Which shout out to Eagles Eric for discrediting that notion when you look at a larger sample size. Yet even though that was the case, it was pretty cool to hear Saquon speak on it and admit he's never afraid to reassess anything in his game.
There was like a video that went viral against the Chiefs, and I guess like every time it was a pass or a run, and like Adrian Peterson reached out to me, and it was like make it all look the same. So like just little stuff like that, just being able to have honest conversations of like, okay, like, all right, like you got a great point there. Do I think it was just for that game? I mean, Spags sent 15 cover 0 blitzes, so I don't think I think any running back in that situation is going to be, their head's going to be on a swivel in that game. But just those conversations I'm able to have with all those guys. And, you know, it's like the game that they give to me, I try my best to give the game to guys like Ship and AJ and Tank.
What do you make of the fact that Saquon Barkley is willing to, I guess, one, admit the fact that, you know, maybe perhaps there's a tell there. It's been disproven to the extreme or to the extent of like, okay, it's every single play, but for him to admit that and also doing whatever it takes to better his game.
I mean, it's a huge kind of thing for him to address it publicly, first of all, but then again, it just shows the type of player and person that Saquon Barkley is, where he's always trying to get better, even though he was voted the best player in the NFL by his peers and had the like record-breaking year that he had last season. He's still always trying to work to be better. Obviously, he hasn't had the start to the season that many anticipated that he would, but he's not like letting that kind of get to him. He's trying to just keep working, keep grinding, and that's a clear point of it.
We'd love to see it happen this week. The running game get going. It's been a little too long. Saquon admitted in his presser. We all see it. If you have Saquon in your fantasy team, as one of my leagues is, it's not. It's been okay, but look, you draft him in that position there to get these 150-yard games with a touchdown or 2 touchdowns. You know, we just haven't seen that so far. Now, 3.3 yards a carry, not going to cut it. A whole lot of different reasons for it. But then you also look at the Bucs, and Bucky Irving, I think it's 3.1 yards a carry, if I'm not mistaken. So both running backs, who I think many before the season would have said, hey, these are like your prime top guys, you know, in the NFL, have not been performing well. Wondering, as you look at this matchup, do you see Philadelphia or do you see Tampa? Like, what's more likely for the team to finally break out and have one of those big games that we've been expecting?
Yeah, I mean, it's been crazy to kind of watch both teams and how much they've struggled on the ground so far this year, right? Like you mentioned, Saquon Barkley averaging 3.3 yards per carry after averaging 5.8 yards per carry last season. And then Bucky Irvin, like you mentioned, 3.1 yards per carry this year and averaged 5.4 last year. I mean, you look at Tampa Bay's offensive line, they're in significantly much worse shape than the Eagles' offensive line. I know Lane Johnson had to leave a game and they had to deal with that. But even before that, the Eagles are struggling to kind of get things going on the ground. And I've talked about how Landon Dickerson's injury, and I mean, he's battling 2 injuries. I know he's not on the injury report officially, but you can tell he's not right out there. Jordan Mailata is giving up pressures here and there. Tyler Steen looks a little bit better as a pass blocker, but on the run game, he's struggling a little bit as well. So it's up to the Eagles to kind of figure this out, but it's not an easy matchup either against the Buccaneers. I mean, they're the fifth best team against the run in the NFL. They're only allowing 84 rushing yards per game. So it's not going to get any easier for the Eagles, but hopefully that second half of the game last week will help them kind of build off that. And maybe we'll see a more Jalen Hurts runs, and that'll allow Saquon Barkley and open up things by occupying one of those edge defenders with Jalen Hurts' legs and the threat of him running the ball. Maybe that opens up those big explosive plays that we got so used to seeing last year that haven't been there quite yet.
Yeah, we haven't had every single game. I think to myself, and I'm like, man, I'm going to take because obviously we do for the underdog, but like I'm take a Saquon like longest run because, and it's crept like lower and lower each week because it's kind of like, man, the Eagles offense is obviously not having those explosive plays. Now we saw a little bit from the passing game, but you're right. It's not been one of those instances of Saquon Barkley. Last year, I mentioned this earlier in the video, but he had 84 yards on 10 carries, limited sample size, and there was not much going right for the offense. So maybe a little bit lackluster performance from Tampa there, but that was the one bright spot. If he had like a 59-yard run, right? And then it was other than that, the offense was all out of sorts. Not having the full complement of weapons totally makes a difference. Injuries play a big factor. You wrote a great piece on, are the Eagles, is Jalen Hurts cursed, and that whole buy into it because the Eagles and Jalen Hurts does not have a good record, obviously 1-4, but injuries have played a huge factor in a lot of those games. You go back and look to it, and again, we're looking here on Sunday. There's a significant factor being played.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at those previous matchups, a lot of the players that were missing. I mean, AJ Brown wasn't in 4 of those 5 games. Granted, he wasn't on the team for 2 of those games, but the one win that they do have over those last 5 matchups is the game that AJ Brown played in, and he's going to be playing this time around. Lane Johnson is back. DeVonta Smith will be playing. Those 3 were all missing last year when the Bucs kind of embarrassed the Eagles. But the Eagles' issues this time around is more on the defensive side of the ball because obviously Nolan Smith was surprisingly placed on injured reserve. It doesn't look like Adoree Jackson's going to play. He's doubtful for the game. Jacorian Bennett, who would have been his replacement, is obviously on IR as well. So now it's going to be up to Kelee Ringo, and then the other guys on the edge in terms of Joshua Uche to Darius Smith. Maybe we'll finally see Azeez Ojulari or Obo Okoronkwo play a snap this season after being kind of healthy scratches. But I'm kind of more excited about the guys that will be playing on the offensive side of the ball that they're getting back, and Will Shipley especially. I think this could kind of be almost we saw him kind of make a couple plays on that first opening drive against the Cowboys in week 1. Obviously, he got banged up and had to leave that game and had the injury that's held him out the last 2 weeks. But I'm looking forward to Will Shipley returning. And Tanner McKee, it seems like he can be also back to his second quarterback duties as well.
It's good to have some of those guys in reserve. And I'm right there with you because Shipley had a very big role in training camp, had a big role anticipated coming into the season. The injury was not great. So for the passing game, at least for something with the screens and even spelling Saquon, we've seen it very small for week 1. But I do think there is something there on Will Shipley's side. What's the biggest, I don't know, because I go back to also like defensively, and we've talked about this ad nauseum at this point for just, the cornerback CB2 spot and everything there. But like Kelee Ringo, is there a chance here? Does he play himself into a starter type of role? I mean, if it's a game, it may only be one game, but could he do well enough against the Bucs receivers? We'll see if Chris Godwin, the assumption is he'll play. He's questionable, but it feels like the Bucs are kind of playing that coy, but maybe a limited sample size or limited snaps that he'll play. Emeka Egbuka will be out there, but the Bucs are banged up, so it's not necessarily the competition you saw like in a week 1 or week 3 matchup, but still, does Kelee Ringo have an opportunity there?
I think he absolutely does because, as we mentioned on the live stream earlier this week that we did together, it's not like Adoree Jackson and Jacorian Bennett kind of ran away with the job when they got their chances either, right? They kind of just played well enough to kind of float around and keep the things moving. But Kelee Ringo, like we said ahead of training camp and before he kind of fell out of favor in Philadelphia's depth chart, the best case scenario was for him to win that job because he's so young and he's under contract for this year and next year. And he's brought in with all those other Georgia Bulldogs. Like, it seemed like the best case scenario was for him to win the job. Obviously, that didn't happen during the preseason and training camp, but now he gets this opportunity again where somehow the 2 guys that were ahead of him are both banged up. He's going against a team, like you mentioned, that doesn't have their full complement of wide receivers. So this feels kind of like a great soft landing spot for him to kind of get that second opportunity. But now it's up for him to make the most of it. And I think he really can kind of show off and put it all together because he did it during the end of his rookie season, right? He played well down the stretch, was one of the few like bright spots for the Eagles then. So now it's just up for him to kind of capitalize and take advantage of the moment once again.
Man, I would say if he could do that, and I know that I'm sure people are going to watch this, and even in the comment section where you hear about it, which is fine, right? They totally understand, appreciate everyone's takes and agree to disagree comments on it. But like, if Kelee Ringo could do that, we were hoping for it back in preseason. Maybe it's a little bit of delayed gratification, but the difference it would make on this squad, I mean, just the competition level, the confidence. We've seen and heard A.J. Brown say it a number of different times talking about Kelee Ringo and the all-pro potential. We just need like a perennial starter potential. We don't need all pro potential. It'd be fantastic, sure. But if it's just like there you go, there's your solid starter. We can count on him. That is a night and day difference. No offense to Adoree Jackson. He was playing better. He was getting better since week 1. But I think, as you've said since way back in training camp, the higher ceiling is Kelee Ringo. And if he can elevate that floor and not have a fall off on missed tackles or just lapse in coverage or judgment, confidence, communication, wherever it is, then this defense gets markedly better. And there's a lot of confidence in it already. But we've said before too, like this season, the way the defense has started, and they've got a whole lot more time to get better. If Kelee Ringo solidifies himself in that spot, look out, because you got the linebackers. They're getting better each week. Certainly Jihaad Campbell is a rookie, but he's getting better each week. Jalen Carter is not in shape, but he's getting in better shape. The interior guys. Edge, yes, with Nolan Smith. I mean, I understand the injury that happened, but I'm still confident in the rotation of guys and being able to perform. So to me, I'm like, man, I would just absolutely love it. If somehow, I don't know, it's crazy, I'm sure, but like a pick six, that'd be phenomenal. We just need some pass breakups. Just some good plays from Kelee Ringo, play lockdown. Oh, it'd be very refreshing to all of a sudden be like, hey, look at there. Okay, a Philly dog. A lot of people doubt, a lot of people put him down. All of a sudden, he proves people wrong.
I mean, it would be great to see. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here. But like you said, the other corners have kind of set the bar so low where if he's just kind of a competent level 2, like second cornerback, I feel like that's going to be good enough. They don't need him to be locking guys down. Just be able to make tackles when the ball comes your way and have a few pass breakups here and there. A pick six would be awesome, like you mentioned, of course. But I think baby steps. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
You're right. You're right. There's just the optimism in me to go like, can you imagine? But you're right. Take care of business. Just better than last year. Show some fight. The heat is playing a factor. We know that. It's funny, the back and forth that you've heard from guys staying in the sauna longer this week to try to acclimate for the heat, going down a day earlier. Vic Fangio being like, that does not make a difference. Like, you got to be kidding. If we're waiting till this week, there's no. It's a mindset thing. You got A.J. Brown who's like, no, it's not that big of a deal. Jason Kelsey, who goes on earlier this week, you're like, oh, I'm telling you, it is absolutely a massive thing. But not being on the field now, I can admit it and say it was the worst thing in the world. So it's takes all over the place. Ultimately, it comes down to both teams do have to play out there, and I think that the fact that they were there just a year ago and experienced the same type of elements, my personal belief is it won't play near the factor that it did before because they're ready for it. But I don't know. Are you concerned at all from the 103 heat index and the humidity playing in Tampa?
I mean, it's still going to suck, right? No matter if they spent the whole week down there or whatever. Like, it's still going to be tough to play, and it's not what they're necessarily used to doing. But at the same time, like you mentioned, they were playing basically at this same time last year. So it's going to be a similar kind of elements. I know the actual temperature is going to reach up to 91. Like you said, it's going to feel like over 100 on the field. So that's going to be tough. I know I have to work outside sometimes in those temperatures, and it is not fun. So putting on all that equipment and making it even worse is certainly not going to be any fun for the guys either. But going down, I think the day early, I know people are saying like, oh, it's being overblown. It's not that big of a difference. But I think being able to do that Saturday walkthrough in that heat and just get a little bit more acclimated to it instead of being like when you go out for pregame warmups is really your first exposure to it. Because even just flying down as like a passenger on a plane to Florida, when you get out of those airport doors, out of the air conditioning, you're like, oh my God, like between the humidity and the heat, it's like, this is disgusting. So being able to get that walkthrough and then the pregame warm up the day of, I think it'll help them, and I think they'll be able to take care of business.
All right. I like it. I'm not as concerned. Again, it's kind of a repeat from last year, but another similar site that we should bring up. A few people have forgotten about this. I don't think a lot of people, but a few people have, and I've seen some comments. Haason Reddick is playing for the Tampa Bay Bucs. Haason Reddick is out there and will be playing against the Eagles. That'll be a very weird sight, and you pointed this out as well. Number 5 makes it even weirder, but yet he'll be there. Thoughts on seeing Haason Reddick? And I don't know, just what to look out for?
I mean, it was very odd. First of all, like I said, to see him in that number 5 jersey, because that's weird. Not only was it he in a Buccaneers uniform, which was like, oh, I forgot he was there, and then wearing that, I was like, oh, that's kind of weird too. But I mean, he is playing effectively in Todd Bowles' defense so far. He has 12 total pressures and 89 pass rushing snaps, but he's also struggled a little bit in certain areas. He does have 2 missed tackles. They have used him in coverage. He's played 20 snaps in coverage, so he's kind of playing like the outside linebacker, but also a box linebacker for some reps as well, because there were times where I saw on film that they had both him and Yaya Diaby on the same side, and then Haason Reddick would drop in coverage sometimes. Sometimes he would rush as a like an off the ball linebacker. So he's not necessarily being the Zack Baun for the Buccaneers. I'm not that equivalent. I'm not going to go that far, but the way that Todd Bowles is using him is a little bit more creative. Almost reminds me of how the Cardinals used him earlier in his career, where they were trying to use him as a linebacker, but he was obviously better on the edge. So I mean, the Eagles still need to be worried, because I know he basically took a season off last year. He played with the Jets. He wasn't with the Jets, like that whole nonsense that was going on. But he looks a lot more like the Haason Reddick that we remember in Philadelphia this year. So the Eagles definitely need to be aware of him at all times.
Keep an eye out for Reddick. We don't want Reddick. Really, we don't want Reddick having any sacks or any. But it would be nice to kind of just blank him for Sunday, But lots of other matchups to keep an eye out for. I know you have, I think, 2 from each side of the ball. So quickly here, what are the key matchups that you've got your eyes on for Sunday?
So kind of piggybacking off of like the Haason Reddick matchup and worrying about him is Yaya Diaby is just as good on the edge, if not better. I mean, he has a 16.1% pressure rate this season with 15 total pressures, which leads the Buccaneers. And if you look at Jordan Mailata's numbers, I know Lane Johnson's been unbelievable when he's been out there, but on the other side, Jordan Mailata struggled quite a bit this year compared to the bar. Like, he set the bar so high for himself that he has allowed 6 pressures in just 3 games, but that seems like a lot for him because he allowed just 20 all of last season. So the fact that Jordan Mailata struggled a little bit, along with Landon Dickerson not looking fully healthy, Tyler Steen and Cam Jurgens haven't really been themselves quite yet. So outside of Lane Johnson, there are quite a few concerns on the Eagles' offensive line, and it's going to be interesting to see how they handle kind of Tampa Bay's pass rush and how they kind of scheme things up. And then also on offense, I'm interested to watch. I know Jalen Hurts versus Todd Bowles gets all this publicity, and rightfully so.
Fair.
But Todd Bowles added an interesting weapon in the draft this year, and Jacob Parrish, who's a slot corner that the Eagles also showed interest in ahead of the draft. And Todd Bowles likes to mix things up, send a DB on a pressure here and there, and that's exactly what Parrish has done so far. He's their starting slot corner. And Tampa Bay, I saw this on Pro Football Focus, they've actually generated the most unblocked pressures this year so far among any team in the NFL. So the fact that the Eagles have had a little bit of trouble kind of identifying this stuff pre-snap, and now they're going to have to deal with this from the Buccaneers is going to be interesting because, like I said, Jacob Parrish, he's only had 9 pass rushing reps so far this season, but he's had 5 pressures. So clearly whenever he's going, he's been getting to the quarterback. Mm-hmm. So definitely keep an eye on him for sure.
Okay. That is very interesting there. I did actually, I know the blitzes are coming, but as far as the unblocked pressure, so there's an effectiveness to it, which I think that it goes into the credit of like, look, all blitzes are not the same blitzes. I think sometimes it's just the so-and-so's blitzing at an X%, right? But there's the effective blitz, which is what Bowles usually has, and that's what Jalen Hurts had referenced earlier this week of like, it is different. It is basically paraphrasing, but it's basically different whenever you're playing against a Todd Bowles defense because the blitzes are coming from areas that you don't expect, and there is a lot more of an efficiency for it. So hopefully they can make some adjustments. Saquon admittedly did not play that well in picking up blitzes against Spags, so maybe there's a little bit better there on the pass blocking for his side. Be watching Will Shipley for his reps, see what they have dialed up on that. But offensively, couple matchups you got an eye on?
So I defensively, I mean, the Eagles should worry about Emeka Egbuka, right? I mean, it looks like he's kind of the front runner to win Offensive Rookie of the Year so far. And Quinyon Mitchell, we saw him shadow Davante Adams in Week 3. Granted, he didn't follow him in the slot if he went in the slot, but if Egbuka has kind of split his time where he's been 43.1% of his snaps have been in the slot. So obviously Cooper DeJean would likely defend him in those scenarios. And then 56.9% all of his other time has been out wide. So it's going to kind of be interesting to see how the Eagles use Quinyon Mitchell against Egbuka because, like we've said, he has been such a dominant force and kind of the spearhead of that Tampa Bay like passing offense, especially now with Mike Evans out. Chris Godwin's making his return, but how much is he really going to play? Is he going to play a full complement of snaps, or is he going to kind of work him in slowly? So that matchup's definitely going to be fun to watch. And then also, I know we talked about Nolan Smith being out, so now it's time for my boy Jalen Hunt to step up, right? I mean, Before he was, when Nolan Smith was there, he was primarily lining up on the right side, which would put him over the left tackle. And we all know now it seems like Tristin Wirfs is going to make his return for the Buccaneers. So that matchup's going to be a tough test for Jalen Hunt, but it could be a tough test for Tristin Wirfs in his first game back, right? I mean, Hunt is a pretty physical edge, and he's going to test them, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Eagles kind of attack Wirfs in his first action back.
Be nice to see Jalix get a sack against War, even with, all things considered, like you say, for the injury. So if your guy could get that, we need to get off the spot. We got to get more than what the Eagles have at the moment. We can't be tied for third last in the NFL for sack totals. I know the pressures are there, so there's okay, don't sound the alarms yet. They're coming, but the way that Tampa's O-line is, Baker's been scrambling really well, but he can get pressured. There's not a great amount of offensive line. They've been decimated with injuries. Yes, Wirfs is there, but I think there's lots of opportunities. So I'm keeping an eye out for that one. As always, though, we picked the first touchdown score predictions. Feel free, if you haven't already, again, mention this, of course, but shout out to Underdog, channel sponsor. Appreciate them. Scan the QR code, use code Philly Special. But if you can predict who the first touchdown score is and the Eagles win the game, then you'll be one of the lucky participants to potentially get any Eagles jersey of your choice, which I'll spin for during the live stream of the game. So last week, I don't think that either of it. We've been 0 for this season. We've not gotten it, but that means that we're due. That means that eventually we're going to hit one of these. This week, who's the first touchdown score?
Well, I'm going to go. I feel like I almost do my best when I go a little bit crazy and go off the board with these first touchdown scores. And I mentioned this guy earlier in this video, and I'm going to go with Will Shipley. I mean, that first game against the Cowboys, it looked like he was going to march them into the end zone. Almost got to the end zone, and then he was taken out for Saquon Barkley, but now with him fully healthy, I think they might be rotating the running backs a little bit more, giving Saquon Barkley a little bit of a breather. And also, the Bucs have given up a touchdown on 2 of their 3 opening drives that they've faced, and they allowed a field goal on the other one, which was against the Jets. So it seems like if the Eagles get the ball first, they're going to score, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown. But I think it might be Will Shipley scoring that touchdown.
Okay, I like that. I don't know if this is unfair or just because I picked AJ last week to, if I just stick with the same guy, eventually it's going to hit. But I'm going to pick AJ Brown again because it's as you said, only the second game that he's played against the Bucs when he's been with the Eagles. The targets we saw it last week, I think they're going to stay aggressive. He would have had it. I mean, let's be honest. Had there not been the pass interference call, he would have had the first touchdown, but he got held, and then it's like, okay, well, now they're going to just do a tush push, so whatever. But it was going to be AJ last week. But I'm doubling down with it. I think this is a great opportunity for him. He's going to get the target share, so give me AJ Brown. Score predictions, though. Is this one a nail-biter? Is this a blowout? Where are we at?
I mean, I really wanted to predict a blowout. I feel like I said that last week, and it came back to bite me. Although the Eagles won, They obviously didn't blow the Rams out, but I think it'll be close. I think the Eagles will cover the spread. I think it was 3.5 the last time I saw it, but I have the Eagles winning 24-20 over the Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers are a solid team. I think their dominance over the Eagles has been a little bit overblown because, especially this season, I mean, yeah, they're 3-0, but they needed a last-minute scoring drive to beat all 3 of those teams. And the Jets, Falcons, and Texans, which are the 3 teams that they beat, have a combined record of 1-8. So I don't necessarily think this is this powerhouse that people are making it out to be. I know Peter Schrager went on saying that the Buccaneers are the team that the Eagles have to worry about. Every week it seems like that team that they have to worry about in the NFC is changing because it was the Packers, then it was the Rams, now it's the Buccaneers. Next week it'll be the Lions. It's always going to be a new team. But I think the Eagles are going to get the job done, win 24-20.
The winds are changing. The winds are changing against the Buccaneers. So they don't have the curse anymore. I agree with you. Very close, actually, on score projection. But I'm going to say Eagles win 24-17. So I like that 24 number, but I'm going to hold them to 17 there. So if we can get a win by a touchdown, hopefully no stress. It was fun in a way, but we really don't need what last week. You can only manage that maybe one game a season. So we got it out of the way, but let's not have one of those. Let's take care of business. Not go down by an extreme in the first half. Have the offense firing all cylinders. Be aggressive. So that's what I'm hoping for. I know that's what everybody as well on this side is hoping for. But feel free to let us know again your score predictions. Let us know in the comment section. As always, you should be following Anthony at DiBona NFL. All the updates, everything that you want to know, and some. But we'll be streaming. Best opportunity to get a jersey if the Eagles win, and we'll see. Are they 4-0 after this week? maybe, depending on what San Francisco does, maybe the only undefeated team in the NFC. So we'll see.
Now.
There you go. Appreciate you guys as always, though, and stay tuned for more. We'll see you. Go Birds.